name is Rosemarie Callahan. Folks just call me Roz. 58 years old, born on a hardpan ranch outside Wichita Falls, Texas, where the only thing softer than the ground was a man's word. I broke colts, trained barrel racers, and buried 2 husbands, one in Fallujah, one in a bottle of Jim Beam. People said my heart was post-oak tough, old, crooked, impossible to burn. This Thanksgiving, I was supposed to be in Oklahoma City judging a futurity, but my only child, Harper, had quit answering my calls after her 3rd miscarriage in 18 months. Dallas doctors called it recurrent pregnancy loss of unknown etiology. Her husband, Tucker McAllister, 3rd-generation oil money, SMU law, teeth too white, called it God's plan and told Harper she needed to get her head straight. I didn't like the way he said straight. So the day before Thanksgiving, I loaded my battered F-250, tossed my suitcase and my old .410 coach gun in the back, and pointed it south on I-35. By the time the Dallas skyline rose up like a middle finger made of glass, the temperature had fallen to 34 degrees, and a cold rain was blowing sideways. Tucker's people lived in Highland Park, where houses don't have numbers, they have names. Their place was called Mockingbird Manor. 6,000 square feet of Austin stone, ego, and other people's money. I parked 2 blocks away so the diesel rumble wouldn't announce me. I wanted to see my girl's face light up the way it did when she was 6, and I came home from a rodeo with a buckle bigger than her head. That light never came. I found Harper on the back balcony that overlooks the infinity pool, curled in a wicker chair like a wounded bird. She wore nothing but a thin cotton sundress the color of a winter sky. No coat, no blanket, no shoes. Her lips were blue, her dark hair plastered to her face by the rain, and she was shaken so hard the chair groaned. Inside, through the open accordion doors, 30 people in Patagonia vests and Lucchese boots laughed around a table that cost more than my entire ranch. Tucker's mother, Bitsy McAllister, former Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, current Botox evangelist, was carving a 40-pound heritage turkey while Tucker poured $1,000 bourbon like it was sweet tea. A string quartet played Sweet Home Alabama. The fireplace roared. The chandelier glittered. And my daughter was freezing to death 20 feet away. Something inside me snapped clean in two, like a cinch strap when a bronc finally throws you. Loud, final. I walked straight through those open doors with rain dripping off my resistol and red mud falling off my Ariat boots. The quartet stopped mid-note. 30 heads turned. "Evening, y'all," I drawled, slow as Texas molasses. "Looks like we started without the guest of honor." Bitsy recovered first. "Rosemarie, darling, we weren't expecting—" I never let her finish. 6 strides across Italian marble and I had Harper in my arms. She weighed nothing anymore. I carried her inside, the room smelling of sage stuffing and money. "Mama," she whispered through chattering teeth, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "Shh, baby. Mama's here now." I laid her on the leather sectional closest to the fireplace and stripped off my oilskin duster to wrap around her. Tucker finally moved. "Rose, this is a private—" I spun on him so fast. His Glencairn glass sloshed bourbon down his pressed shirt. "Private?" I said, voice low and deadly. "Boy, the only thing private in this house is whatever urologist did your vasectomy and kept his mouth shut about it." You could have heard a diamond drop on that marble. Tucker went the color of skim milk. Bitsy made a sound like a cat whose tail just got stepped on. His daddy, Big Tuck McAllister, 70 years old, Stetson the size of a satellite dish, rose slowly from the head of the table. "Now you listen here, woman. No, you listen." I reached into my bra, every respectable Texas woman keeps the important things there, and pulled out my phone. I'd hit record the second I saw Harper on that balcony. I've got 32 minutes of y'all laughing while my daughter damn near froze to death. I've got Bitsy saying Harper's wasting the family name by failing to produce an heir. I've got Tucker telling his cousin Brody that Harper's womb is about as useful as a screen door on a submarine. I hit share, live on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere at once. And the best part? I smiled the way a coyote smiles right before it takes your calf. Harper's fertility panel came back perfect last month, but somebody, wonder who, had a vasectomy 6 weeks after the wedding. Snip, snip, boys. You've been blaming my baby for something you did with a scalpel and a lie. The room exploded. Bitsy shrieked and hurled a Baccarat wine glass at the limestone wall. Tucker screamed for security. His little sister, Landry, 25, 300,000 followers, ring light tan, started filming on her own phone and yelled, "This is better than Yellowstone!" I just stood there holding Harper while the internet did God's work. By the time the first Highland Park PD cruiser rolled up, lights flashing, sirens off because, God forbid, they disturb the neighbors, the video was at 400,000 views. By the time the officers realized nobody was actually dead, it was 1.2 million. By the time Tucker's lawyer threatened to sue me for invasion of privacy, it was trending #1 nationwide with the caption, "Texas oil heir locks wife outside on Thanksgiving for being barren. Turns out he got a secret vasectomy." The turkey never got eaten. Someone knocked the table over in the chaos. 40 pounds of heritage bird, oyster stuffing, and cranberry relish sliding across Italian marble like a crime scene. I carried Harper out to my truck, wrapped in a cashmere blanket someone had thrust at her in panic. She was crying, but for the first time in months, it wasn't the hollow kind. It was the kind that washes things clean. 3 weeks later, the divorce was final. Tucker's lawyers tried to bury us in motions, but the internet buried them first. A GoFundMe for Harper hit 7 figures in 4 days. Women who'd lost babies, women who'd been cheating on, women who'd been told their bodies were broken, they sent money, letters, teddy bears, Bible verses, rodeo buckles, Whataburger gift cards. One woman drove 12 hours from Lubbock to deliver a pan of enchiladas and a note that said, "My mama taught me never to waste good food on sorry people." Tucker's company, McAllister Energy Partners, lost 3 major contracts when the board learned he'd been flying influencers to Cabo on the corporate jet while telling Harper they couldn't afford another IVF round. Big Tuck lost his seat on the Cattle Barons Ball Committee, Bitsy's Junior League presidency was revoked by emergency vote, and Landry's brand deals evaporated overnight. Turns out, sponsors don't love domestic abuse allegations served with cranberry sauce. And the ranch, my ranch, the one my first husband and I built with blood and blisters, the one Tucker had been pressuring Harper to sign over for the family legacy. Turns out, the mineral rights were never transferred. Every acre, every cow, every blade of grass my granddaddy broke his back on still belonged to me. In February, the week the settlement hit Harper's account, $8.4 million after the judge decided fraud and emotional abuse were worth punishing, we sold the ranch to a conservation group for $12 million cash. Then we bought a smaller spread outside Weatherford with good fences, good water, and a little white house surrounded by bluebonnets in spring. Harper started real therapy, not the kind Bitsy paid for where they tell you to pray harder. She started riding again, slow at first, just grooming the horses, then sitting on a quiet gelding while I ponied her around the round pen like she was 5 years old again. Some mornings I'd find her asleep in the barn loft, wrapped in a horse blanket, smelling like hay and peace. Jake came into the picture in April. He was a farrier I'd known since he was a skinny kid with a limp from a rodeo wreck. He'd filled out, got quiet, steady eyes and hands that could gentle the rankest colt. He never once asked Harper about babies. He just showed up every Saturday with coffee and a quiet smile and fixed whatever needed fixing. The next Thanksgiving, we had 6 people. Me, Harper, Jake, my oldest friend Luann, Luann's wife Dolores, and Harper's therapist, who insisted on bringing homemade tamales because healing tastes better with masa. We ate off a folding table because the good dining table was still in boxes. We had a $10 Walmart turkey, stovetop stuffing, and a pumpkin pie Harper baked herself with shaking hands and shining eyes. Jake carved. I said grace. Nobody posted a damn thing online. When the dishes were done, Harper and Jake went out to the porch swing. I watched from the kitchen window while they rocked slow, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her like she was precious but not fragile. The stars were thick as spilled salt. Somewhere far away, the McAllisters were probably eating catered pheasant in a house that felt colder than the night Harper almost froze. But in our little white house with the bluebonnet yard, the coffee was hot and the swing creaked like it was singing. That was the Thanksgiving the turkey table fell, and the year my daughter learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served at 350 degrees, with a side of justice and a whole lot of love.